There he is. Welcome to Fishing Eastern North Carolina. I went out today and went to several tackle shops and bought a lot of terminal tackle as well as some lures. So I wanted to share with you all what I bought today. Most of this stuff is geared toward fishing in the fall, and most of it's used for bank fishing. This is the stuff that I really like to use bank fishing. So I wanted to share with you what I bought today. So the first thing is this rage tail, and these are really big profile lures, and these are when you know that there's big fish in a pond and you're targeting these fish that are in a little bit deeper water. I like to use this on a wacky rig, or not a wacky rig, I'm sorry. I like to use this on a shaky head, and if you look, the reason I really like these is because it has this raised lip on the tail, and it really gives this tail a ton of action. So that on the shaky head is really going after those big fish. The next lure that I've had a ton of success with so far this fall is this creature bait by Yum. So the Zoom makes a brush hog, and this looks just like the brush hog, except it's a little bit bigger. And I do both of these in green pumpkin. That's just my color of choice for the fall. But I like to use these in the early fall when the fish are coming in from the deeper water, and then I like to use them again in late fall when the fish are kind of slowing down just a little bit. So I put both of these on shaky heads, and the shaky head that I like the best is this Buckeye, and I'd use the 1/8 ounce in this one. But what I really like about these is that it has a screw at the top, and then it's a pretty good size hook, which they come in all different sizes. But what I like about it is the flat head on the top. So when you're pulling this along, it sits straight up every time you stop. And that, with the action of these two lures, it really just gives it a crazy action. So this this setup is perfect for me. Now I do buy some that are a little bit bigger. These are a larger size, and I like to use these in the deeper water early on in the fall, and then I'll use them again mostly in the summers and things like that when I'm trying to get to some really deep water. But I bought these just for this early part of the season. I also do some Texas rig fishing with these two lures, and I bought some weights there. I did not buy any hooks, but typically I go with like a 3 or 4 alt. Doesn't really matter the brand. I buy a little bit of everything, and I haven't really found anything that I really like, so I'm just kind of trying a bunch of different things still. The next bait that I like to use in the deeper water is the jig. This is a football jig, and let's see, the weight on this is 1/4 of an ounce. So I like to throw this just like it is, depending on the time of year. But when I know that the fish are kind of slow to bite, I try to fish it without a trailer. And then when the fish are really active, when the water starts to really cool down and they're being really active, I'll throw a crawl trailer on here, usually in a natural color, and this really catches the bigger fish. So I like to fish it just like it is to target any size fish, and then I'll put the trailer on there when I'm really targeting the big ones at the end of the spring or end of the fall. The next part, so these are all my deep water, so I'm using these in the early fall and then again in the late fall with all the stuff that's going to be on the bottom. The next series of baits I like to fish are in the middle of the water column, and a lot of people will switch away from the Wacky Rig. I love using the Wacky Rig in the early fall, and it's probably one of the most successful times for the Wacky Rig in my opinion. So the hooks that I'm using, these are the owner hooks, and I use these. Somebody gave me a pack and I used them, and these are the best hooks for Wacky Rig that I've found. And I mean, I really like these. They're pretty expensive. Well, they're not too bad, $2.99, but they are the best hooks that I've used. I would suggest checking them out. They come in all different sizes, but this little like small circle style hook is what's been working really well for me. And then the two colors that I like to use on the sunny days when the sun's out, I like to use just the natural Yum Dinger and Green Pumpkin. And then on days when it's cloudy, when it's cloudy, I like to use the Junebug color. So these are basically the only two colors that I try to fish in the fall. So the next bait that I like in the middle of the water column is mimicking shad, and shad are all over the ponds that I'm fishing. So this is just mimicking one large shad, and I like to fish this because you can put it anywhere in the water column that you like. You can fish it up in the middle of the water column or lower to the bottom. There's so many different ways to fish this, so that's what I like about it. If I'm going out in a pond that I know is historically, not known for really big fish, I'll fish it just like it is. If I'm going to a pond that has the big fish, I'll add this trailer to it, and I just do the basic. This is just the basic zoom. You get 20 of them for like $3, so that'll last the rest of the fall. The next thing is the spinnerbait itself. I really like the white spinnerbait, and I'll put these same trailers on there. And I have the white already. I have multiple spinnerbaits already in the white with the gold spinners, and then I have them with the silver spinners. But I did not have anything to mimic a crawl, and the pond that I just started fishing a lot has a lot of little crawfish holes, and I bought this just to try out there. So this is in the crawl pattern, and I'll probably fish it just like it is. I won't add any trailer to that one. So the next thing that I have is in a crawl pattern as well, is just this crankbait. It dives 3 to 5 feet, so this is just a standard crawl. This is something I'm just going to try in my new pond. This is not something I would normally try, so I'm just trying it because there's a lot of crawfish in that pond. The next one is just a wild color. I just like to have something when the fish are being stubborn and you're just trying to get a reaction strike out of them. I just like to throw something obnoxious at them. I'm not one of those people that believes that you should have 50 different colors of everything. I think you should have something bright and then something natural. And if you are fishing a pond that has shad, you should fish something that looks like a shad. And if you have no shad and it's just bluegill, you need to fish something like bluegill. And that's just my opinion. I know a lot of people like to try all these different colors. I'm stick to what's natural for the fish. So this is just my obnoxious bait, I guess you could call it. And then the next one is a shad that has a blue top to it, so it's got a little bit of that bluegill look to it, but it also looks just like the shad in the pond that I'm at. And this is a very shallow diver. I have a pond that is only a few feet deep, and this one only goes down, I think, this one is 0 to 3 feet, so I can control this to stay in that middle of that water column, square bill. So the next one is for the other pond. It's a little bit larger shad color, and it has a bigger bill on it, and this one's supposed to be 3 to 5 feet as well. And I just like to fish these because they're natural to what's in the environment. So that's what I would suggest for you all, is just to try to find what's natural in your area and stick to baits that look like that, because that's what those fish are feeding on anyway. So every once in a while you can get an obnoxious bait and catch something crazy with it, but for the most part I like to mimic what's in the water around me. So I wanted to share all this with you all and just let you take a look at what I'm doing this fall. I wish you all luck this fall, and if you have some techniques that you use that you'd like to share, just leave them in the comments below, because I'd really like to know what everybody else is doing. This is what works for me, but I know other people have techniques that work for them. So I'll usually stick with this area with the deep water items in the early fall, and then I'll switch over when the water's a little bit cooler and the fish are more active to this middle of the water column. And then at the perfect time when the water temperature is when I'm having more of the 60-degree days, I'm going to switch over to these. And then when I'm getting to the 40 and 50-degree days and getting into winter, I'm going to switch back over to the deep slow fishing. So that's kind of how I approach the fall. Let me know what you think, and if anyone's interested in doing a challenge, shoot me a DM on Instagram. The Instagram account is Fishing Eastern NC, and just shoot me a DM. and let me know if you have one of these baits and you want to try to do a challenge with one of these. That's fine. If you want to try something new, that's fine. But I'd like to try to do some more challenges with other YouTubers and help boost both of our channels up. So if you're interested, just shoot me a DM, and good luck to you all this fall, and hope you catch some big fish. Thanks for watching.